Alright guys, so as you can tell from the title of this video, we're going to be ranking every Akuma from worst to best. Since there is a new Akuma, which is Kamaki Akuma, I will be ranking them from worst to best. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe right to the video, guys. Alright guys, so coming in 10th place is going to be Sriracha Akuma. Now, Sriracha Akuma right here, guys, let's be real here. This is the worst Akuma in the game, even worse than the original Akuma, hence why it's going to be lower. Now, Sriracha Akuma, honestly, all it has going for it is, quite frankly, its counter. And in this meta, counters are not nearly as good as they used to be. The other moves of Sriracha are either counterable or they're just avoidable entirely, and quite frankly, they're not that great. The mode is probably another one of the best parts about it, but in all honesty, the mode is very easily avoidable as well. So the only thing Sriracha has going for it is the counter. For some reason, the lag right now in the server is absolutely hardcore, but the counter is the only thing Sriracha has going for it. This counter, when you actually get hit, it just does a small stun to somebody. It's not really a great counter, but it is the best thing of Sriracha. Now, coming in 9th place is going to be Ryan Akuma. This honestly pains me to say that Ryan Akuma is this low on the list because I absolutely love this bloodline. I adore this bloodline. It is one of my favorite bloodlines in the game. If I had to choose any Akuma in the game to be named Variety Akuma, it would be this one. After a rework, of course, because it's pretty bad right now. Now, the main thing that Ryan Akuma has going for it is the C-Spec, which is kind of like a cheese seal mode drain ability. That's kind of the only thing it really has going for it. The weapon spec really isn't that great. It's like a worse version of the third ability. Third ability is a ranged guard break ability. Has very small iframes attached to it. Iframes were nerfed from it. That was kind of the best part of it, but those were nerfed. So it's just a ranged guard break move now. The second move was also pretty good before, but it obviously was damage nerfed. Only does around 66k in mode now. Used to do like 100k. And now the best part of Ryan Akuma, other than the mode, is the actual counter ability. And as you guys know right now, counters are they're not good anymore because auto dodges are kind of needed mid combo, and they are in a global cooldown. So counters, they're pretty trash now. So yeah, Ryan Akuma, unfortunately, just going to be hitting the fat sack. All right, guys. So coming in 8th place is going to be the OG Akuma. Now, OG Akuma saw a huge power spike just because auto dodges are mid combo now, and Akuma has the longest auto dodge in the game. Now, this can actually be cheesed through just M1ing them, but if they aren't actually M1ing you, this auto dodge is probably one of the better auto dodges in the game, just because, you know, even though it has no side effect to it, it is the longest auto dodge in the game with an extremely low cooldown. Not only that, but Akuma has a very solid stun. It's pretty much just a Bankai stun ability that doesn't place lock. Pretty okay, you know, pretty okay damage ability, and the mode obviously does stack based on the amount of people there are. So Akuma, just a very solid average bloodline, guys. The coming in 7th place is going to be Satori Akuma. Now, Satori Akuma actually has one of my favorite auto dodges in the game. If you guys are unaware of the auto dodge, they actually, for some reason, yes, for some reason, guys, this move is an auto dodge. It's not just a stun ability, it actually is an auto dodge. So it's an auto dodge that actually simultaneously attacks people. It's one of my favorite auto dodges in the game. It's a very cool and it's very good in the auto dodge meta right now. Now, Satori also has a counter attached to it. This counter, as you guys can see, it does put the first move on a global cooldown, but the first move doesn't put the second move on the global cooldown. It's pretty weird how it works, but the counter of Satori really isn't that great. Now, Satori also has the stun ability attached to it. Now, the stun ability is honestly just kind of like a Bankai Akuma second ability, but it actually is better than Bankai Akuma second because Bankai Akuma second was actually nerfed. The actual mode isn't really that great when it comes to the C-Spec. It just makes you fast and able to run around, but the web spec definitely carries the mode with being able to block, break, range, and just does a ton of damage to people. Now, coming to 6th place is going to be Shiver Akuma. Now, Shiver Akuma is one of the most slept on Akumas in the game. Now, the reason why I'm going to be ranking this low is because I feel like it's more of a stalling Akuma than anything. Using this in T-fights would make your teammates hate you because you're going to constantly be warping the opponent out. Like with the first ability, if you use the first ability on someone, it's really, really good for 1v1s, but in T-fights, it's just going to be absolutely annoying to your teammate. The C-Spec is just kind of like, what? That's weird. I did it next to him and he actually got hit by the ability. The C-Spec just warps you out. Basically just a free escape ability, lets you run away. Pretty good for bounty and all things considered. And then the weapon spec is probably the best thing of Shiver Akuma. It is a, you know, instant stun move that is on a weapon spec with a very short cooldown and iframes attached to it. Now, coming to 5th place is going to be probably one of the most surprising things on this list is going to be Bankai Akuma. Now, Bankai Akuma, I mean, it has a bread and butter auto dodge. The auto dodge lets you, you know, run away, you teleport back at the end of it. Just bread and butter auto dodge, guys. You see a lot of people using this auto dodge, me included. I do actually use this in PvP sometimes, and it's honestly the reason why Bankai is still so high. Now, the actual stun of Bankai was nerfed. There actually was a 0.5 more hand side attached to it, which is actually a pretty big deal, you know, considering Bankai has a very specific amount of like the combos were used because the stun was so good, and the stun isn't as good anymore, so the combos aren't as good. Now, the other Bankai abilities is just the basic damage ability in the C-Spec, which is the exact same as Rise Akuma C-Spec, mode drain iframe ability. So the main things of that Bankai has going for it is the auto dodge and the actual stun ability, which are both pretty solid abilities, hence why this is going to be halfway through the list. Now coming in fourth place is of course going to be Kamaki Akuma. Kamaki Akuma, the newest Akuma in the game, is of course going to be in the top 10. Now unfortunately, Kamaki Akuma, even though it is by far one of the absolute most best looking bloodlines in the game, I mean, like, this looks pretty sick all things considered. This bloodline itself is just, it's really, you know, not that great. The main thing Kamaki Akuma has going for is the third move, which is just a vengeance reskin. In all honesty, it just does a bit more damage than it. Really not anything great about it. The first move is just it's just kind of like a Ryan Guider third ability, which wasn't that great in the first place. The second move was good when it had a 4-second cooldown, obviously, but now it's just kind of a very bad extending move. So what the Kamaki Akuma has going for is the mode in the third ability. The mode, I would say it's kind of just a worse version of a Short Shizen or Indra Akuma. I mean, like, the C-Spec is a dash grab. It does a bit of damage to somebody by a bit. I mean, like, 83,000. The chance of hitting it is honestly very low. And then you obviously have the throwable right here. The throwable is probably one of the best parts of this bloodline. For some reason, the counter keeps going after the counter actually triggers. So it does have move stacking potential. And then the weapon spec is a lot like a Short Shizen and an Indra Akuma. It just turns you into something that has damage reduction, stun, you know, reduce, and just, it's not worth using because it drains so much mode. So Kamaki Akuma, even though it is the newest Akuma in the game, and usually new means better, in this case, that is not true, and it's honestly quite unfortunate because it's a very cool bloodline. Now coming in third place, coming back into the top 3 with no other, is going to be Riser Kuma. Riser Kuma stun right here, guys. Pretty much just Bankai Kuma stun. It is slightly better now because Bankai Kuma has a tiny bit more hand signs now, so I do think this is slightly better, which is kind of hilarious because Bankai used to be the one, like, the big brother of Riser. Riser's back, baby. And then the C-Spec right here, guys, it's just kind of like a basic C-Spec. It's mode drains, gives you iframes. It really, like, there's nothing to say about it. Third move of Riser Kuma has always been trash. It is trash as it always hasn't been reworked. Now, the first move of Riser Kuma is probably the best move of the entire bloodline. It is a iframe attack move that isn't on the auto dodgeable cooldown. That is very important. So it doesn't put your auto dodges on cooldown. It puts iframe attacks on cooldown. So this move is absolutely busted in this meta right now. It could also be considered for being even second place on this list, just because this move is super busted for this meta, guys. It has iframes attached to it at the very start of the move, obviously, and it actually can stun afterwards, and there's a bunch of tricks you can do with it. It's just a really good ability, guys. Now coming in second place is going to be one of the most overpowered bloodlines of all time. Not now, but it used to be Shindai Akuma. Now Shindai Akuma, guys, this bloodline has been both respected and disrespected by pretty much everyone in this game. Web spec is still a pretty good mode drain ability. If you can manage to stun someone before hitting them with the gritty, you know, hit the gritty on them with the weapon spec right here, it will be a pretty good weapon spec. It does a bit of damage. It has iframes and mode drains. You can catch people off guard with this quite well. The C-Spec is quite annoying to people, because the clones will actually chase them down and mess up their combos and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good ability to let you charge your chi. And then obviously you do have the counter of Shindai Akuma, which is the ability that they actually did, you know, it is a nerf, I guess, where they go into the air or whatever, but it summons clones. It's a very big safety net, you know, safety net counter ability. There's not really much else to say other than that. I mean, it's just a safety net ability. The clones will get it even if they don't attack you, so it's a pretty good ability overall. And then you do have the damage of this sunflower move, and then you do have the damage of the sun move, and then you do actually have the sunflower move, which is a stun. Now the main moves of Shindai are going to be the mode, which is actually pretty good for PvE as well, and the actual clone move, which is both good for PvP and PvE content. By the way, guys, this is just an FYI. This is my new Shindo Life channel, so if you guys enjoyed the Variety J Shindo Life content, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button, guys, and comment below if you guys want me to keep making Shindo Life content. I will really appreciate it. Now coming in first place, probably as a surprise to absolutely nobody, is going to be Indra Akuma. Now Indra Akuma has a solid only like 30 mode drain. It was actually nerfed. It used to be 25. 30 is still really great, and you get raised block for 30 mode drain, which I shouldn't need to tell you why that is so overpowered, and you get buffed non-knockback M1s for 30 mode drain. Now this is absurd already. I know you guys are like, oh my gosh, it's so great, but the actual counter of it, even though the counter is a pretty weak counter, in all honesty, it still is a counter. It's a counter on a 20-second cooldown, does a bit of damage to people, but then honestly the main thing Indra has going for it is this just basically completely free raised block. 30 mode drain, as you guys probably know in this game, is absolutely nothing. I would recommend not using the C-Spec because it is actually counterable, but is a decent guard breaking move. And then the weapon spec of this, honestly, it's not worth using because it drains so much mode, but it is a very cool ability in all honesty, so use it if you will. Now onto the less, interesting part of Indra. The first ability is probably the best move of it. It's just going to be it's kind of like It's weird. It's kind of like Bankai Akuma second, right? But instead of doing that place lock stun, it ragdoll stuns them. That's the best way of describing it. It's a pretty short-ranged ability, so that's why it's not really that great of an ability. But it can be used to do a bit of damage at combo extent. Now, speaking of Bankai Akuma, the second move of Indra is quite literally just a better Bankai Akuma, just because Bankai Akuma's stun was nerfed. So it's a two-hand sign, place lock stun that stuns for a decent duration. And then the third move, for some reason, Rogue Games is in love with these types of moves, which are guard-breaking, slow travel moves. It's not good. Stay away from it. Anyways, guys, for this video, if you enjoyed this video, guys, bye-bye.